Assalamu alaikum. I am Salatu Sule.
I am Obian Zegre Edu.
We welcome you back to another conversation. Everything centers around this book, One Breath at a Time.
So here, when we were talking during the last episode, when we were asking questions, I knew you mentioned somebody like looking for a space, looking for something to do, taking care of yourself. And I don't know why I feel it's connected to this next question. This person is saying, should we focus on just ourselves and try to feel better, or should we also focus on others?
Okay, I know in the last episode we also covered the issue of comparing ourselves to others, and it's like, no, turn your attention more to yourself. Here, this question does raise the point: where should your focus be? Is it on trying to heal yourself and feel better, or should you also spend time and give time to others as well?
Okay.
It depends on why are you focusing on somebody else. What is the reason for you turning your reference to someone else? Now, there's the focus on someone else where you are comparing and then you end up feeling worse. So that one we say, no, that isn't helpful.
Okay.
There's the focus on somebody where you are actually looking to either learn something from them or benefit them. And I capture that in two phrases. One, look for the stars.
Okay.
The second one, be a star. So
Okay,
look for the stars, be a star. So let's start with breaking down what I mean by look for the stars. When you are in a difficult situation and you are feeling really low, really bad because something important, something really valuable has been taken from you, it's similar to experiencing sunset, darkness falling. Because what has been taken from you is big and magnificent and important and beautiful and bright and all of that, like the sun. And when the sun goes down, darkness comes. It's no longer so difficult, so easy to see. If the moon is also not there, then visibility is really poor. However, you could have the stars. The stars are tiny, 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 and each one seems maybe insignificant, unimportant compared to the sun. But every star has a role that it plays in the sky. And when you look at the stars all together, then you have your constellations, and they provide guidance for people. Navigation, they act, like the compass. When we look at our lives as well, even in that moment where you are facing great difficulty and you feel like the sun and the moon have fallen out of your sky, look for the stars. The stars are those things that seem small, insignificant, that you probably don't usually notice, but their presence in your life adds something. And if you focus on them and you really, really learn to savor them, to reflect upon them, they would give you a boost of courage or comfort or give you insight, perspective, little things. That's what I call looking for the stars. So you look for the stars in your life, and the stars could be things, could be places, could be events, could be memories, could be a person. So when you look at somebody else, are you looking at someone who would inspire you the way those ladies inspired me to try and hang in there or give you comfort? That they were my stars, yes. Among so many other things, they were my stars. Then be a star. Be a star is where you say, okay, can I do something of value or benefit for someone else? Even if, yes, I'm feeling really bad, but can I take out the time to do something for someone else? The something is small, apparently insignificant, but it is impactful. So it could be for somebody close to you or a total stranger. It could be, let me give an example. You are grieving, you are facing difficulty, or you've even just lost your job and you're spending time, pounding the pavement, looking for another job, going from office to office, but you are really feeling the weight of it. Then you get into a bus. There are other passengers on the bus as well. Then someone gets on the bus too, and the person is carrying heavy load. You want to help. You don't need to have a job. The job is your sun, your moon that fell out of your sky. You don't need a job to help that person. Can you do that for a moment? Just help the person with their load. Or the person is carrying things, one drops down. Instead of just looking down and thinking, look, my life is so rough right now. I don't have time for you and your orange that fell. Can you pick up the orange and give the person? Can you add a smile and be giving? Acts of kindness. That is being a star. Doing something for someone else that's of benefit, it's of value to them. And you can do that regardless of where you are at in your point in life. Because whatever it is that Allah has allowed to be taken from you, or He has blocked from getting to you, there are things that He has allowed to remain with you, that He has opened the door to for you. You just have to look for the stars.
Okay, does it, like I know, if I think I've heard you say this before, where you also think about it could have been worse.
Yes, it could have been worse. That's where you then flip the looking for the stars. Okay. Where you slow down and say, okay, I feel really bad right now. Maybe sometimes you're in such a bad space mentally. When somebody tries to tell you to look for the stars, oh, look at this in your life. You're thinking, don't tell me that, I'm you know that feeling. Like, don't tell me, I don't want to hear it. This one is hurting me. That's what I'm talking about. Now, the flipping is where, fine, don't look for the stars. But ask yourself, is there any way in which my situation could be worse? Is there any way? I remember once I was going through, I have this condition, sometimes I get an inflammation and it flares up. And I'm usually in really a lot of pain. I can't move. I can't go to work. Sometimes for 2-3 days, I'm laid down. So there was a day I was going through that. I was alone at home. Everybody had gone to the office or to school. And I was just feeling really low. Like, oh God, my leg is hurting so badly. What am I going to do? I lay down. I wasn't comfortable. It just kept hurting some more. I changed position. It kept on hurting. Then I remember trying to move the pillow to a new position and thinking, so how on earth am I supposed to even try and rest when I can't even lie down or sit down or walk? And then I started feeling, I just went into real self-pity mode. I was having a full-on pity party, feeling sorry for myself. Then I started asking myself, I remembered this. I mean, I'm talking about things I've used before. Yeah. So I remembered this, like, is there any way, Salatu, that your life could be worse right now? And I was like, yes. And I had to start looking for the thing that, the kind of news I would hear at that moment.
That'll make you happy?
No, that would make me wish my leg would just keep right on hurting instead of getting that bad news.
I get you.
Yes. So I thought of death of a loved one. And I was like, no, if I were to hear that, I would say, God, let the leg hurt me. So I think I counted I gave myself the challenge of finding. I don't think I reached amputation, but I know I did consider cancer as well. What if this were cancer? Oh, no. And it's been tested. It's not cancer or anything, but what if it were? So I gave myself the challenge of finding 10 ways in which my situation could be worse. I reached the third one. I say, God, no. God, thank you for my leg. Thank you for my life. In a couple of days, this leg will be better. I felt better. I laid down. I said, I'm good. I'm fine. Yes. So it's once you can get yourself to do it, you actually start feeling the relief in your heart that all those worst case scenarios are not your reality.
So in case of looking for the stars, like counting the blessings you have, and then the flip of it is, it could have been worse.
It could be worse, and imagining it worse.
Okay, imagine, even write if you have to.
Write it if you have to. Sit down and picture the process of what's worse. Okay. Until you start feeling an appreciation for where you are right now.
I think I can relate to this. There was a time, because I also lost a baby, and when we had the news about the problem that the baby was supposed to undergo some surgeries, and when the doctors were just explaining, and I was talking to my husband, and he said, it could have been worse. You are fine. At least nobody's telling me it's my wife and child having problem. It's just the baby, and that's Allah's servant. I said, yes, it's true. And did anybody say you're not going to have babies again? I said, no, it's fine. So he kept mentioning different things.
Ways it could have been worse.
So I just felt better, like it's true. I'm not in this position, I'm not in that position, I'm not in this position. So alhamdulillah. So may Allah make it easy for us.
I mean, for all of us.
And sometimes I think we do these things, but we are never conscious.
Yes, that's what we are doing.
That's what we are doing. So it's almost like the practical tips you give us, ways to put all these things you've been saying, we've been talking about, into practice.
Yes, that is it.
If you are already feeling weighed down by an issue, how can you help someone else?
Okay, so that's that thing of, look, I already have my own problem. I can't deal with yours. The doing it is not so much the problem, it's the frame of mind. Okay. Where we think, if I don't bother about you, I would then have the energy and the time to take care of me. That's what I mean by it's more a frame of mind. Because like the example I gave of someone bothering to pick up an orange to give to somebody else. Yes, the guy in the bus. It won't give you a job, at least not in any direct way we can see. It won't make you feel better about not having a job. But not having a job hasn't stopped you from showing that act of kindness.
Yes, true.
When we look at it from, let's take it from the scientific side. When I help somebody else, I show someone else an act of kindness, give them something that they dropped, help them with some problem they have or something they are trying to solve. Or let's go back to the one of not having a job. Let's even say you started a business and the business crashed. So now you've got no money and no job, right? So you've got lots of time on your hands. You actually say, I have no job, I have no money, but now your time has just increased.
Yeah.
Your attention that you can give to certain things has also just gone up. So you then say, but I have time to actually sit with this person and help them sort out ABC, which I didn't have time for before because I had the job. You would still want to set up that same business. So it's more a frame of mind thing, I believe, than inability per se. When we now look scientifically and you actually go out and you do that act of kindness to someone, what happens is within your system, and I'm not a psychologist or a scientist, this one I've read it again and again and the research is there, it's clear. Within your system, your brain releases certain chemicals, hormones. These are, they call them feel-good hormones. There's oxytocin, which actually helps you feel like you are closer to people, helps you bond with people. There's also the one that, you feel like you've just done something good and the reward centers in your brain wakes up. So now when this happens, you start to feel better. You may acknowledge the fact that my situation is still bad, but you feel better even in that moment. Not just you feel better, they actually help to counter the hormones released into your body when you are stressed out. So when you have things like cortisol, stress hormone really flooding your system, adrenaline flooding your system, telling you there's a problem, you've got to deal with it. It makes you all jacked up, but that's what also makes you tense, and you start to feel that heaviness within yourself. So the happy hormones or the feel-good hormones, they counter the stress hormones. So it helps. Now that's science. Logically, when you are facing an adverse situation, it's like it's right in the center of your view. It's as if the situation is right up here. And this is all you can see, and you can barely see anything else. When you now say, okay, let me help somebody else, it's like, this is the problem, it's up here, and I have to go sideways and help somebody else, go sideways and help somebody else. Now this is, like it's distant, and then it's becoming diluted. So its effect on my psyche is diluted. This is not the only thing to focus on. So I can give this one 30% attention, give this person 30, give another person 30, and then it's diluted. As opposed to all my attention is here, all my focus is here. Everything I'll say, don't you know I have a problem? Don't you know I have a problem? So there's a logical side. Then now let's come back to our text, our revelation. We find again and again Allah, praising this concept that when you are in a difficult situation, you still give. He talks about, in a verse of the Quran, he tells us to run, to race, to flee, like go very quickly at speed towards forgiveness and paradise that is very wide. And he says this paradise is for certain people. One of the qualities that Allah then mentions that this paradise is for people who, even in times of tribulation, difficulty, they still spend on others. They still give to others. I've always wondered at that.
Not just money, it can be time.
It can be time, yes. When it comes to giving to others, it can be anything. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that every day we wake up, charity, sadaqah, is compulsory on all of our limbs. And then the companion said, but Ya Rasulullah, we are not rich. Like, we don't have that kind of wealth to be giving every single day. And he was like, pick up something harmful from the road, remove it is charity. Pour water into the vessel, the container of your brother is charity. A kind word is charity. Smiling is charity. Doing justice is charity. So he started listing things that have got nothing to do with money, but all with intention. Do I want to do it? So I'm going to do it. So when you say, my situation is so bad, I'm busy looking after myself, I'm busy trying to sort out my problem, I don't have time for somebody else. We forget that, but that's the one of the ways to actually help yourself. Millions of ways. Allah has made it such. He said, Al Jaza'ul Ihsan illa al-Ihsan. Is there a reward for good other than good? I see this thing as an example of reward for good other than good. The reward for the doing of good lies in the doing of the good itself. It just comes with it. It's beautiful.
Okay. What if you want to do better, but you just can't? People are saying you should feel better and stuff like that, but you just can't.
If you can't, you can't.
Okay.
Just form the intention within yourself that you're going to strive, but know that nobody can set a deadline for when you should stop crying or when you should stop feeling bad. Nobody can and nobody should. And don't stress yourself out that by this day I should have. There's no by this day.
Okay. So there's no timeline.
No timeline, no timetable, no deadline. You have to just go at your pace. Try a lot of these different tips and skills to get through day by day, one breath at a time.
Oh, mashallah.
Mashallah.
We're going to have in our last question, but after this, please help us summarize all this.
Okay.
And in a way, we can put all these things into practice.
Sure.
So here we have, if adversity reveals aspects of yourself that are unpleasant, won't that make you feel worse?
Yeah, sometimes adversity reveals. Not sometimes. Adversity reveals ourselves. Your real self, your true color. You know, if you want to know the strength of tea.
Tea, okay.
You put it in cold water, you wait a long time, you won't get the full flavor or essence. If it's warm water, maybe a bit more. When it's boiling hot, then you'll know the full flavor and essence of tea. It takes hot water to get the full flavor and essence of tea. The same thing with Turare water, this incense. You sometimes sniff it from the container and you say, oh, that's nice. You put it on fire, start burning it, and people walking and they'll be like, what's smelling? The true essence comes out. Adversity works like fire. It brings out the true essence of yourself. Okay. Sometimes what ends up coming out is pleasant. You now realize, I didn't know I had this strength. I didn't know I had this capability. I didn't know I could see things in this way. Sometimes what comes out isn't pleasant. You will then realize, I didn't know I was weak like this. I didn't know I had this bias deep inside me, but the adversity squeezes it and brings it out. My husband would say, you know, it's like when you squeeze mango, what comes out is mango juice. You can't squeeze mango and get carrot, right? If what comes out is unpleasant, then do that thing we said earlier, which is reflect.
Okay.
In what way can I grow? So your question now would be, how do I change this? How should I evolve into someone better? Now I see where I need to grow. I see my gap. How can I mend or fix that? You know that verse I talked about where Allah said, people that He has reserved paradise for are those that give even in times of adversity. Another quality He mentioned, or two He mentioned side by side, He talked about the people who are righteous, they are good. Then He talked about those who have done something wrong, they've wronged themselves, then they seek forgiveness.
I think I've seen that in Surah Al-Imran verse 134. I'm not sure, but I think
it's around there, 133, 134, 135, that range. Okay. So He talks about that quality of you've wronged yourself, then you seek repentance. Okay. So when adversity reveals a part of yourself that's not okay, what do you do next? You try to make it right. Whatever that not okay may be, try to make it right. Whether it's someone you've offended or someone you ought to make it right with them. Whether it's between you and God, make it right between you and God. Whether it's just about how you manage yourself or your resources or the things around you, make it right. Otherwise, the pain is for nothing.
Well, it's just, I feel like it's heavy. Alhamdulillah. So, can you just tell us how we can just put all these things into?
Okay.
I know you've been mentioning
the actionable. One actionable thing to do is write down what is it you say about yourself that this adversity has revealed that's not okay. Then how can you make it right? Last thing is make it right with regard to, is it between you and Allah, you and somebody else, or how you manage yourself. So you can create a table, or you can create a diagram, or you just make a mental list. What's not okay? How do I make it right? And who do I owe that making it right to? One. The second thing to look at is now to go back to the earlier part I mentioned, this one of helping somebody else, being a star for someone else, where list the people around you. One. those people who are constantly in your life, family, neighbors, and so on. List people you would meet once in a while, the person in the shop or a pedestrian. Then write down a list of things. Try and come up with up to 10 things that you can do that are low effort, low cost. They don't need you to exert yourself too much, but little things, acts of kindness. It could be you are going to cook lunch anyway. So what if you add an extra portion for your neighbor? What if you add an extra portion for such and such a person? That's little, it's low cost, it's already tied to a routine you have. So write down the list of people around you, including those you'll meet one-off or once in a while. Then write down up to 10 things that you can do for people. It's an act of kindness. Then don't forget, purify your intention. Tell Allah you're doing it for His pleasure, for His sake. You're doing it to get something from Him, not from them. And then may Allah make it easy.
I think this one I will connect to. I think I heard from you or someone where this is the ease inside the hardship.
Yes. Yes, with hardship goes ease. It's right, it's there. May Allah just give us the wisdom to see it.
May Allah not make us blind.
Amen.
It was our blessing.
Amen.
So join us at the next episode and begin. Wa alaikum salam.